A company doesn't invest for the sake of having something beautiful. Even in the case of brand is an investment to help your company be memorable and be differentiated from its competitors. And it's actually extremely important. And if you see it from that perspective, it's something that it's worth putting money on.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Innovation Bre8k, where we're curating game-changing tactics and resources for data-driven growth, marketing, and sales. I'm your host, Sarah Osel, founder and principal consultant at Animate Collective, and today we're speaking with Esteban Arroba, CEO of Team&Tonic. Hey, Esteban.
Hey, Sarah. Great to be here.
I am very impressed by your background. Some of these accomplishments include helping startups raise over 70 million, including one of Forbes' top 50 AI startups, helping to advise over 200 founders across the US, UK, France, and UAE, building a team that has evaluated over 1,200 designers across 105 countries. That is very impressive.
120,000.
120,000, yes. So very happy to have you today. Your journey exemplifies very strong resilience, adaptation, and relentless drive. I think our listeners are going to learn a lot. So today we're talking about how to grow your startup with freelance designers. So why don't we kick off with, why do you feel like this is relevant today? Thoughts about the business landscape and any key information.
So the reason why this is relevant in today's landscape is that companies are moving towards AI. We know that a new era is coming and a new era is ahead. Even tech companies are impacted by it. So we have SaaS companies that need to completely shift their model because AI agents are coming over. And then on this whole uncertain environment, that means that we are at a time in history where things will drastically change. And I think the workforce and companies need to adapt to it. So I believe that AI is not truly a labor replacing tool, but more like a labor empowering one. And it will empower people who have the ability to adapt to it. And that's why I focus my entire company on providing the best 0.8% of freelance designers, because I believe that freelancers need to upgrade themselves better than ever and faster than ever. And then on the other side, like, companies will look for cost reduction, which means that they won't prioritize platforms like generalist freelancing platforms out there that provide a big pool of freelancers. So that won't be the norm anymore, and then they will go to something much more specialized, and they will want to obviously reduce the number of hours worked because many tasks can be replaced by AI. So that's why I believe that this topic is relevant, and what Team&Tonic is extremely aligned with what's coming up in the future. And I hope we can empower designers and companies so for companies to grow and designers to also grow their skills and upgrade themselves.
Yeah, I have seen in my own work over the last 10 years, these gig platforms have scaled across industries and functions, yet we struggle to find good workers through these platforms. They're not necessarily designed for the users or the employers in mind. So having sort of walled garden, highly curated networks where the value is there and you almost get a luxury service through these types of platforms. I think that's definitely the future of employment sourcing for whatever kind of project you have. And as the market changes, you can adapt more readily when you're sourcing through these flex work opportunities.
Exactly. And as the talent pool will increase on the top of that, then it will be more and more difficult to filter out candidates. So and to be honest, like hiring great people is not an easy one. And
Yes.
I experienced like that struggle quite a lot for my journey.
Yeah, well, thank you for your inspiration. Can you explain what a fractional director or designer is and how startups benefit from hiring freelance designers for their projects?
Sure. So a fractional director is someone who comes to help a startup. So that person can work on demand or part-time. And they help the startup build the right foundations and align business goals. And also they help them like have perspective on internal work. A fractional director can actually come. So he's not necessarily like replacing the director. I've seen like fractional directors coming along the actual director within the organization. And then sometimes it's they also come like to actually build the initial foundations of the startup. And this is extremely relevant for startups because first of all, they cannot always afford to have a director in-house. So they can just have like someone guiding an entire team. And when I say an entire team, it can actually just be like 2 designers, for example, or marketers. And as a startup, you probably want to reduce the fixed costs that you have, and that's actually like a good add to have within your team and a great opportunity to reduce recurring costs with that. This role can give you like flexibility, speed, and helps you like access the best talent on demand for a few hours, pick up their brain, and make sure that they give you perspective and help you grow the startup and put it in the right direction to let then freelancers do the work at a much lower expense.
And these kinds of outstanding, flexible team members, they're rare. They're the unicorn candidates. So this kind of leads into my next thought. What should startups look for when hiring a fractional design director or freelance designer? Have you picked up red flags? Must have? How do you vet people?
Yeah, plenty of red flags. So I will focus that on 3 tips, which I think are the most relevant to hire the right talent. So the first one is to look at portfolio with results. So whether you hire a designer or a marketer, you need to make sure that there is relevant results accomplished with the work that they provided. So for example, like increasing website conversions, increasing engagement on content provided, helping a startup fundraise if we are talking about a pitch deck, for example, or increase the retention of customers if we are talking about an application. So that's one, is like having a proof of work is extremely important. The second one I would give out is that it's very important to look at the profile and to make sure that they have problem solving mindset. And I know that this is something that is very difficult to assess during the recruiting process because it's not something that you can have it systematic. It's not something that you can assess with an AI. It's mostly like exploring that. I mean, sometimes it's like by getting to work with the person actually. And then other times it's like you can actually have like some processes within the network, like having interviews, having challenges, and requesting videos from the person doing the work. So it's extremely important to assess that strategic part and to make sure that the person is proactive and is involved. So one of the values that I have within my company is that I require people to think like owners, like they have ownership in their work. And it's extremely important because many times consultants forget about that. And there is actually like a video of Steve Jobs, like quite famous video about him, like saying that the worst thing in consultants is that they don't take ownership within the company, and that's an extremely important one. They need to feel like that's their own company. And yeah, and I have like a story about it, like about how we work with the client, which I can probably share later. And the third tip I would give is that it's important to just have like speed of communication, especially because startups live in a fast-paced environment. So it's important to integrate communication, make it fast, and remove barriers to it. And when I say remove barriers to it, it's like making the designers interact directly between them without adding an extra layer of communication. For example, having unnecessary managers within it and then letting the doers do. And some red flags I have spotted during the recruiting process is that sometimes there are people who give us vague work. So it's actually not sure if it's an actual project done for a company or if it's a side project that they did for themselves. So, well, that's okay as long as the quality is there. But if there is only side projects done and then not actual work given for the company, then it's very difficult for them to prove results, which goes back to the first point that I shared. And then the other one is like during the recruiting process. So we also assess for attitude, which is what I mentioned in my second point. And something that we notice and that we don't like is that sometimes candidates have slow replies. So it's like you send an email today and then you wait next week to get a reply to your email. Or like you send an invitation to have like a call for as soon as possible because we need to recruit the person, and then it's like the call is scheduled for.
Yeah, that's how they're going to interact with the client.
Exactly. So that will affect the communication, which is the third tip that I mentioned.
Yeah, I actually started my career as an industrial designer, so I have an understanding of where, I mean, maybe not graphic design. I know of a lot of graphic designers, but UX designers, where they may be coming from. And I think part of the challenge is, when we have education that doesn't necessarily cover entrepreneurship skills, you don't think about your function of design as a business. And I'm really grateful for my experience back in I was president of my business club. I'm really grateful for that experience because it enabled me to approach design with a business mind. And that enabled me to scale my career up into marketing and marketing technology. And now I'm very much embedded in the metrics of business. But I know from my experience working with other marketers who are hiring designers that they don't necessarily get feedback to the designer for the performance of their work. And this is creating persistent challenges in designers' careers where they're not enabled to share those performance metrics. And so along the lines of communication, I would encourage designers to be bold. And when they're working with those clients or those stakeholders who do have the data downstream, don't treat your work as like, we do this project, send it off. Keep following up and make sure that you know the value that you're providing, because that will only escalate your career. And maybe work with Team&Tonic. Yeah. All right. So how can startups effectively integrate fractional and freelance talent into their teams to maximize efficiency and impact?
So yeah, so we have processes that we have created internally, and I will again like share 4 tips here. Actually, like more like 3 + 1. So the first one is to define roles clearly. So we have like many startups coming to us, and that's exactly where we help them with from the beginning, that they don't have clarity on the designer that they want. So and what I mean by that is that most of the time, like as a startup, you tend to think in terms of output and deliverable. So they come to us and they tell us, I want a website, right? But when you know more about the design industry, well, it depends on which kind of website, but if it's a website with multiple pages, then you will probably need different roles to it. So you will have like a UX researcher sometimes if you want to do additional research on your customers and then validate your product. You can also have a UX designer who will help you structure the website. Then you can have a UI designer who will help you with the aesthetics of it. And then if you can also have like a brand designer to help you have cohesion. I mean, to have a coherent brand. And then finally, you can also add like motion designers if you need a video, or illustrators if you want to strengthen your brand a little bit more. The thing is that startups, when they come to us, they obviously most of the time it's not their core focus. So it's not also where they focus on to try to understand the specific roles that are needed for it. And the request is mostly, I want a designer who does all of that, which is not possible because if you go out in the market, some designers will actually tell you, yes, I can do all of that, but then like you won't get the required output for it. And that's the issue. And then it's like you need to actually understand the subtleties of the market. Well, the second tip is to streamline communication and to use async tools. So we internally use Loom, Figma, Notion, Slack to help communication, to improve communication, to make it faster, but also to let people reply at their own pace after they finish the work. The third one is to prioritize direct collaboration. And that goes back with what I said again, which is like remove the middle management and make sure that communication is direct between the workers. And lastly, I would say again that it's important to think of design as a tool to grow the startup. Many times I see designers think that it's all about the aesthetics and it's all about making it beautiful. And then they are unable to convey the actual value of design. But if a design cannot convert within a website, or it cannot retain customers when we talk about,
or even scale with the company, like
exactly,
be able to iterate over time.
Exactly. And it needs to be something that is useful for the company. And I think founders need to understand that better. But I think founders, they have that in mind because in reality, when they invest and when they put money into something, it's they have that perspective in mind. But more than founders is actually freelancers and designers who need to profoundly understand that, because a company doesn't invest for the sake of having something beautiful. Even in the case of brands, brand is an investment to help your company be memorable and be differentiated from its competitors. And it's actually extremely important. And if you see it from that perspective, it's something that it's worth putting money on. However, if you explain it from the perspective of this is just something beautiful, then it's like, okay, how can it help my business? And it's like, well, very difficult to explain. So maybe you shouldn't put money if you think that's the only purpose, right?
Yeah, well, I like how you are structuring your business to meet both sides of your marketplace. So you have your clients and you're helping them figure out what they want and structure their projects. And then you also have your design network, and maybe they're not the best at managing projects, but they're extremely talented. And I like that you are kind of having an efficient back office essentially to help manage all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So can you share an example of a startup or project where hiring fractional design or freelance design talent made a significant difference?
Yeah, sure. So one of the best examples I have is one of the first customers we work with. So it's a customer based in Silicon Valley. It's a startup. And when they came to us, they just raised their Series A and they were about to raise their Series B. When they came to us, the founder and the CEO were extremely stressed because they were 1 week ahead of doing their fundraise, and they needed to have perspective and clarity on the deck they were about to provide. So at the beginning, they just came to us for a pitch deck, and we had 1 week to deliver it. And not only not only from the design point of view, but also like give them perspective about the narrative, the storytelling of it, and then like the entire structure. So we helped them achieve that. We did a great work, I believe, and then they went out and they expected to raise $15 million at the beginning, but they ended up raising like $20 million more. And obviously, like from there, they were extremely happy, and then they came back and we ended up working with them for I think it's like over 2 years in total, and we essentially became like their internal design department.
Awesome.
We hired different specialists over time. We helped them structure their brand, their websites. We even work on part of their application. And yeah, we essentially became like their main tool for design growth. And we also empower their marketing team, and we work with the CMOs that they had within the company. And lastly, they ended up exiting the company. I mean, the founder exited the company and he ended up selling it to a much bigger company. And I think it's a great success on their side, because that's exactly what a founder dreams of, and it's what they dream of when they start the company. And it's incredible to help startups achieve exactly that. So yeah, that's the example of like a big project that we can take on, but we also help plenty of early stage startups just get the ball rolling with, for example, with a landing page, and they can just get a waiting list of initial users from that landing page, and then from there they can scale their activities by having like then an MVP, a brand, and then creative assets for their marketing purposes. So yeah, I mean, we cover it all, and we are able to do that because we truly work with the best freelance designers worldwide. We cover freelancers across 105 countries, and we have assessed over 120,000. So that's why we are able to provide designers that are a great fit for every startup need, whether it's in terms of industry, budget, time zone, skills required, and yeah, and many other variables that I certainly forgetting right now.
Yeah, that's a really outstanding example of, and I'm sure at the time you felt like, wow, this is the vision realized with that company.
Yeah, that's the perfect like client journey from our side, and more than helping them like achieve that vision in terms of growth, it's also something that I take to the heart as a human being, let's say, because you are actually transforming the lives of many people working within that company, and then the freelancers who help also that company, and then you create great memories as well.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about what Team&Tonic does. What are your goals for 2025? Any exciting announcements coming up you'd like to share?
Yeah. So our goal for 2025 is to expand the word about the existence of Team&Tonic. So far, we haven't done any marketing yet. We have been growing the company like for 3 years and a half, just on the back end, in order to make sure that we could provide a great service and that we had the systems in place to deliver that. So yeah, now it's our
You're
objective.
very organized in your back end. I've seen the Notion. I was
Yeah.
impressed.
I mean, yeah, that's how, I mean, I believe that systems within a company are everything. And that's how I actually built this company, in order to make sure that we can provide the best talent very fast within 48 hours, and make sure that we can deliver on it. And the only way I came up with is having great systems. So that's how we structure the business. And now it's like the time to spread the word and make sure that we help as many startups as possible growing with us. And we have plenty of exciting things coming up.
Yeah, and I always like to end these episodes with some inspiration and resources. So what are your favorite books, tools, platforms, tips? How are you inspired? How can these maybe help startups looking for fractional or freelance design work?
Yeah, so something that is extremely important nowadays is the importance of design, especially for AI startups, because AI is a new technology, and to help people adopt that technology, it needs to be extremely simple for them to use it. And UX is something that helps people make that technology intuitive to use. And one of the books I would recommend for UX, to get UX clarity, is a book called Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. And it's a great book to understand the strategy that you need to have behind your UX, and helps you understand like how to structure your interviews and how to hire the right person for your company, and make sure that that person has the right mindset to be able to take on your project. There is another book that I really like as well. It's called Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. And that book is more about how to structure a business and make sure that you are structuring the right department at the right time, and you make sure that the company is working well and is efficient. And yeah, and I would recommend working with Team&Tonic, because I believe that this kind of networks will be extremely important and valuable in the future. As we move forward, it's not about hiring from generalist marketplace anymore. It's more about like hiring the best talent who is specialized in a very specific subject matter. And those are the people who will leverage AI to the maximum and will be much more efficient as well.
Yeah, I love that title, Don't Make Me Think. I think it speaks to the double-edged sword of design in the marketplace. Good design just exists, and it is, and you accept it, and you don't even know it's there. And that's also the reason why we forget about design and the importance of design. And I think compared to, business management principles, lean is all about eliminating waste. Any point that you have waste is an opportunity for a designer to come in and help that system flow. And I think especially in AI right now, as we're seeing these platforms come online, they're extremely free-form interfaces. We need UX designers and investment into this. And not only does that create waste in business when we're struggling to actually use and upskill with these tools, it also creates environmental waste with all of the data that we're wasting and multiple attempts at trying to work these AIs and hallucinations, et cetera. We just talked about this in a webinar a couple weeks ago, so I'm on that topic. But thank you so much, Esteban, today for sharing your expertise. Make sure to check out Team&Tonic's website at teamandtonic.com. Find the resources that Esteban just shared in the show description. You can also follow Innovation Bre8k on all your favorite channels, including Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, and Medium. Once again, my name is Sarah Osell, and I'm the founder and principal consultant at Animate Collective. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and visit our website at animateco.com. All right. Well, thank you so much, Esteban, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.